In the past, a time long before electric washing machines, spin dryers and irons existed to relieve the struggle and strain of pressing clothes manually, making domestic life that much easier for us today, everything had to be done by hand. That isn't to say there wasn't help, of sorts, and there existed a machine which, in the Victorian era, was a common household mechanical assistance to press clothes. But this help came at a price. A terrible price on the body of anyone unfortunate enough to have to work at the machine long hours. Comprising 2 wooden rollers held in a frame and powered by a hand crank, laundry would be fed, by hand, through the rollers to wring out water. They were used both by staff in wealthy households and independent washerwomen, or mangle women, who took in clothes and earned what was a pittance of an income at piecework, feeding laundry through the jaws of the machine over and over again. Today, you will hear an account of the horrific work of 19th century mangle women by Olive Christian Malvery, a contemporary journalist concerned with the welfare of women and children. Find out why the mangle was known as the iron-mouthed monster, and discover how women and children worked long hours in return for little money, but a huge toll on their health. Before we move on, if you're interested in history like this, and you want to find out more about what life was really like for people in the past, please consider subscribing for more content. Please give us a like if you enjoy watching, and check out the description for ways you can help us continue bringing the past alive. A more appropriate name could hardly be found for the hideous machine which has become the torment and goad of many little children in the underworld of London. In many of the dens where mangling is carried on, it is unusual even to place a card to that effect in the window, though one may often see the little sign, "Mangling done here," showing through some blurred window pane in the myriads of mean streets which go to make up the world's greatest capital. My knowledge of this unseemly trade among children came about in the following way. There was Florrie, a club girl, who on show nights was apt to distinguish herself by her elocutionary brilliance, and it was down Hoxton Way she lived. My friend, the president of this same club, had made a party to which all the girls were invited, and Florrie was among them. But the news came to her that the girl could not come. "Florrie hasn't no clothes, and she can't borrow none." Such was the information vouchsafed. Here indeed was a dilemma. Off went my friend to see the child. In distant lands one hears romantic stories of the happy homes of England. And certainly in travelling through this blessed country, which for so long has been free from war, pestilence, and famine, one sees with admiration the lovely lands lying peacefully to right and left. There nestle little villages in snug valleys, and here and there proud towns throw skywards their spires and turrets, and many a stream flows gently to the sea. Thus, on the face of it, beauty and peace seem to reign in the land. The dissolution begins when one passes from the ranks of the well-to-do, the smugly prosperous, and injudiciously makes investigations among the great mass of the people. It is only when one's eyes are cleared of the glamour of pride and wealth that one sees how things are indeed in England now. This typical home I would like you to see is a little hovel opening straight onto a murky, unpaved street. A place with a battered window and scarce room enough to turn round in, but the only home of a cheery, hard-working little English girl and her 2 old grandparents whom she supports with her labour. My friend entered this abode somewhat suddenly one noontide, almost tumbling from the street into the room, but seeing a toothless old man grubbing horribly in a basin among some strange-looking food, she was about to withdraw, apologizing for intruding at the dinner hour. "Oh," said Florrie, "please come in. It's only grandfather having a bite, and we're just taking a cup of tea. Of course, we don't have dinner every day." There were 2 cups of milkless tea set before the old grandmother and Florrie, and they munched away contentedly at crusts of dry bread, and for such meagre fare the girl had been at work since 5:30 that morning, and would resume her toil after a short interval to carry it on far into the night. Mangling is an art which one might say ought to be cultivated without regard to such sordid considerations as filthy lucre. Art for art's sake. It requires some little skill and practice to feed that grim iron-mouthed monster. The clothes must be folded evenly and placed carefully within the jaws, and then with a mighty effort and pull, into which the whole force of the body is thrown, round go the wheels and out come the folded articles. But each turn is a wrench for the delicate body of the mangler. Florrie was squat and ungainly, but she carried on her work with the utmost cheerfulness. The rate of payment for mangling articles is a penny a dozen, and a smart worker can earn 3p an hour, but this implies a large amount of physical strength, and to eke out an existence means uncounted hours of toil. When we asked Florrie why she chose to support these two old people instead of allowing them to go to the workhouse, she gave her reasons with charming simplicity. "Well, yer see, miss, grandfather he wouldn't work when he ought to have, and of course now he can't. And poor old granny, well, who'd have the heart to send the old soul to the big house? It'd fair kill her." She then toiled on. She appeared at the party, however, resplendent in Granny's blouse, the only one the old lady possessed, so she had to be put to bed before the hour of the party. Florrie washed the garment and made it smart for her own wear. Then a neighbour, hearing of her plight, came in and lent her a skirt. Thus, with the contribution of a hat and belt, and a surprise gift of a pair of shoes from a friend, Florrie arrived. She might have been living on truffles and champagne, her spirits were so light, and she recited Christmas Day in the workhouse with appropriate fervour. She went home with bags of cakes and buns, and a small basket of sundries, which included tea and sugar, and various domestic articles. Yet with all her toil she had a fairer time than her child neighbours. The fate of these is indeed fearful. In many of the poorer streets of our great cities are tenement houses where the poor live herded together in indecent numbers. The rent of these places in London rises year by year, and the creation of new slums is alarmingly rapid. There are 300,000 one-room dwellers in London. That is to say, all the families represented by this enormous number occupy, each family, but one room, and for these rooms the rent charged brings in tremendous profits to the owners. To meet the heavy burdens laid upon them, it becomes absolutely necessary for the people to transgress the law. So, in many of these rooms homework is carried on, much of it sub rosa, in secrecy. The children of these submerged families must add their mite to the general income, and the babies toil to pay the house rent, and earn part, at any rate, of their own food. In many and many a corner of such rooms a mangle may be found, and at this dreary machine from dawn to dark little children toil, earning with infinite labour perhaps a penny an hour. The little backs are bent, the arms grow twisted, and terrible eye strain results. For the tremendous muscular force put forth by these tiny bodies causes the eyes to protrude. If there are too many absences from school, the inspector comes round, and the little ones are packed off with aching bodies and dull eyes to pick up such knowledge as they can. But almost to the hour of starting for school, and again on their return for many hours, they take their turn at the mangle. Mangling is done for the neighbours, and the rate of payment is the same everywhere. The children are set to this form of toil in many instances because their parents are idle and drunken. I have before been accused of exposing evils and raising difficulties without suggesting any methods of reform, but it must be borne in mind that many earnest people are engaged in discussing these subjects, and though their experience is immensely superior to mine, they are not able, evidently, to suggest reforms that commend themselves to our legislators.